So this is our e-commerce training. We're going to talk about Durham Warehouse, which is our e-commerce business, and the Media Captain, which is a digital marketing agency. So just a little bit about us. I know Lisa just read our bios to you, but Jason and I are brother and sister. A lot of people think that we're husband and wife, but we like to, clear that up right from the get-go. So these are some pictures of Jason and I growing up. Jason founded the Media Captain back in 2010. We started that together, and I'll let him get in a little more detail for you with that. So Jed, you want to share your...
Well, you're sharing the screen, but I'll share the story. Yeah, so I started the Media Captain in 2010. So what we do is we help businesses with their online presence, whether they need a website or if they want to generate more leads and more sales. From running an agency for 3 or 4 years, we started working with some e-commerce clients naturally where they were contacting us. And, Stefanie and I became pretty fascinated with the fact that we could run an advertisement and somebody in California or Texas could order from like a local, mom and pop shop in Columbus. So that's been a big growth area of our agency, the Media Captain. We'll get into how Durham Warehouse was founded. But just so you have a little bit of knowledge on what the Media Captain does, businesses, whether they don't know how to do it or if they don't have like an in-house person, they rely on our team because we have web developers and graphic designers and copywriters and people that are experts in social media. So they turn to us for that. And that obviously, helped Durham Warehouse out a lot, just having that knowledge.
Okay, so now my favorite topic, we get to talk all about Durham Warehouse for the rest of the presentation. So let's get into a little bit about just how we launched Durham Warehouse. I know maybe a lot of people on this call are starting e-commerce businesses or they've already, you're in the beginning processes of starting your e-commerce business, or maybe you had a brick and mortar, which you're taking e-commerce after everything that happened with COVID. So Jason and I have been through literally every step of the e-commerce process. We've learned everything just from doing it. We started with nothing, and now, like Lisa said it from my bio, we have over 200,000 customers. So we've grown significantly over the years. We launched in 2016, so just under 5 years that we've been in business. So Jason kind of shared the idea a little bit of how Durham Warehouse came to be. We had all of these e-commerce clients, and we thought it was a great idea. Our dad, who's also on this call, hey Dad, our dad is a dermatologist in Columbus, and he's been practicing here for over 30 years. And he's always sold, about 5 brands of skincare products in his office. So when Jason and I started getting into e-commerce, we thought it would be a great idea to sell skincare products. We just grew up around skincare, and we've always seen how much people love it, and how important getting that skincare advice is. So we had the idea. We started reaching out to some of the brands that our dad had worked with for 20 years, and some of them said yes to us, some of them said no. But the big thing was that in order to carry these brands and sell them on our site and get wholesale prices, we had to have a dermatologist on board. So that was really our unique selling proposition from the beginning, is that we had this dermatologist, as a member of our as a partner of the site. And because of that, we were able to sell these professional strength products. So the products that we sell, they're not prescription, they're all over the counter, but they're not something that you would find in like a drugstore or CVS. They're higher levels of active ingredients, things that you would find in a dermatologist's office.
And Steph, I'll jump in here, and just from my experience on the agency side, the unique selling proposition for Durham Warehouse is that we had access to products that not everybody had that access to. And I can't tell you how important your idea is when you're starting an e-commerce company. What is your unique selling proposition? We run the same sort of strategy for a lot of different businesses, and sometimes they fail. And we're not doing anything different from like an execution standpoint on the advertising. A lot of times it's just a better product that we're selling, a better price point, possibly like a better website. But a lot of people just think it's like, get a website up there and you're going to get orders. Not always the case. So you want to take a lot of time to make sure that you're selling the right thing. So I just wanted to let everybody know about that.
And we'll get into a little bit more in a few slides about the common pitfalls when starting an e-commerce business, and that's one of them. So we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in a few minutes. But from the time that we had the idea to when we actually launched the site took us almost an entire year. And this was, spent reaching out to brands, getting those people on board, actually building the site. And a lot of people, you don't really think about it, but when you go to an e-commerce site and you're shopping for products, somebody had to actually add every single one of those products to the site. So I spent that year writing all this content and getting it added. So from the time we had the idea to the time we actually launched took a year. We had some development issues, and we really just spent a lot of time on minor details. Finally, Jason was like, all right, we need to get this site launched. If it's not perfect, it's not perfect. We can fix it later, but let's just get it going. The brand outreach was a huge part of the process for me. And I was reaching out to all of these brands, and it was really interesting just talking to them and, making deals with them. Some of them told us right from the beginning, you have to spend $5,000 before we even allow you to list anything on your site. And at that point, we just couldn't do that. And we still don't do that to this day. So we had to, some brands said no to us. We had to say no to some brands. And it was really about finding those partners who we could build a relationship with. Another issue that we ran into right from the get-go, and this is also something that we didn't even think about until it was time to launch, was our payment processing. So for anybody out there who's building an e-commerce site, this is something to think about right from the beginning. And it might be different now getting set up with a payment processor than it was 5 years ago. It might be easier, but they were asking us for all this information and all this history, which obviously we didn't have because we were just getting started. So it was a bit of a struggle to get going. And you can always use PayPal as a payment processor or Stripe or something like that. And we went with a company called Elevon at the time because they just really helped us through the process.
And for anybody who doesn't know what a payment processor is, when somebody makes a purchase on your e-commerce site, the money has to go into a bank account. So there's a payment processor that, syncs the credit card payment to the bank account. And there's like a pretty extensive approval process. Now it is a lot easier than it was 5 years ago, but that's just something a lot of people don't think about. And yeah, I definitely recommend like Stripe is a great option.
Excuse me. And then the other thing that we considered very early on is, we were thinking about our shipping. Once you start getting orders in on your e-commerce site, the first thing that you have to do is ship products. So one of the very first software that we signed up for, and we'll talk more about e-commerce software in a little bit, but the very first software we signed up for was called ShipStation. And it's a shipping software. It connects to your site and it allows you to print out labels from their software. And we have used them from the very beginning and we still use them today. So they're great and we highly recommend. But what we started off doing with a lot of these brands is drop shipping. And what drop shipping is the brand ship products directly to the customer. And the reason that we did this was just from an inventory perspective, having to carry inventory from, 5 brands or 10 brands when you haven't sold a single thing yet. First, it takes up a lot of space. And second, it's a big investment. And before you have sold a single thing, having to invest money in this product that you're going to, store in your warehouse, it's a big risk that you're taking. So some of the brands that we worked with were willing to use a drop shipping model with us, which was so helpful at the beginning because we were able to, get more used to the brand. We were able to see if the brand worked well with us. So in the long term, for us at least, it wasn't a good model because it just ends up being more expensive. You have to pay higher prices for shipping. Let's say somebody orders 3 things from 3 different brands. You're potentially paying shipping 3 different times. And we did that for a while with a lot of brands. But now that we have the space and we know the brands that we're working with, we've moved away from that. But I highly recommend anyone starting out looks into that. And then the other thing that we did right from the beginning, before we sold a single thing on our site, actually a year before we sold a single thing on our site, was start building our SEO strategy. We put up a homepage that says coming soon. It had an about us page, and it just had our homepage of Durham Warehouse. And we started reaching out to people to build our SEO strategy. And Jay, why don't you go into that a little?
Yeah, so you want to get, Stefanie talked about ordering product and potentially, how it can be nerve-wracking. What if you don't sell it? So I'm sure a lot of everyone listening is wondering, like, well, how did you get 200,000 customers? And we'll get into that, but Google, like that's how we do it. And SEO stands for search engine optimization, so that plays a big part. There's also paid advertising, but Google looks for authoritative websites, and that happens by other sites like linking back to your site. So let's say Eastside Dermatology is recommending a product and links back to Durham Warehouse. That is a link going back, and so you want to build authority on your site. So we worked on that before we were even taking orders to build up that authority. So just another thing to keep in mind, and we'll dive into that later on.
Okay. All right. So just a little bit into our e-commerce journey. We've definitely had a lot of bumps and bruises along the way. It was not always smooth sailing. We have learned a lot of very valuable lessons. One of the two probably most important things was software improvements that we've made along the way, and we'll talk about all of our software. But when we started out, I was using Google Sheets for everything. I was keeping track of orders, I was keeping track of inventory, and it worked because that's, I made it work, but it was very time consuming and probably not as accurate as needed to be. So software and finding the right software and implementing it has literally been life-changing for me. And the other most important thing is hiring employees and knowing when to hire employees and which people that you need at the time. So, for a long time, I was doing mostly everything myself. And as we got more employees, it allowed me to free up some time to not be, packing orders and talking to customers on the phone, but actually growing the business.
Hey, Steph.
Yeah.
You said that the software improvement was life-changing, but I think it would be valuable for everyone to hear, explain your life before the proper software was implemented versus afterwards.
Yeah. So my life, and it was a very slow process. We started implementing software over, 2 or 3 years, and every 6 months we would find something new. But I basically, was up at 6 a.m. at work at 6:30, 6:45, and I was working until I went to sleep every night. And it's not because I was, doing all these things to grow the business. It's because I was literally putting order information into a spreadsheet and putting inventory into a spreadsheet, and everything that came in, I was inputting it in this spreadsheet and manually calculating it and adding up what these purchase orders were and how much money we had. And it was crazy. And finally, one day, Jason was like, you can't do this anymore. So little by little, we started finding software, and we'll go into all of the software that has literally changed my life. But, you have to do it at the right time. Google Sheets are free, and all this software costs money. So we did that for a long time because that's how we, save money. But as you grow, it's really important to add those type of things and add employees to help you so you can focus your time elsewhere. COVID-19 was really also changed our business. We're very fortunate in that we're an e-commerce business, and e-commerce has grown so much over the last year, but it was really scary, especially at first. We didn't know if we were going to have to shut down our office. We didn't know if our vendors were going to be shipping products or if they were going to be shut down. We didn't know if the mail was going to be shut down at one point. And there were 3 months last year where my employees were working at home and I was the only one coming into the office, packing up every order every day, unloading all the inventory. And this was, at the time, at our busiest time ever. So since COVID started, again, we've been really lucky in that we've continued to grow and e-commerce has continued to grow, but it's really just taken us to the next level. Okay, so Jason started talking about pitfalls, and I'll let him get more into it here, but these are some things that you really want to think about before you get started in an e-commerce business.
Yeah, so 80 to 90% of e-commerce businesses fail. It's like, that's one of the, in running an agency, that's one of the toughest things. Like, we try so hard to, make a business profitable and make it succeed, but we see it firsthand that they don't all work out. And it's really tough to differentiate yourself, and it's very competitive. So just know that going into it. You heard Steph talk about her long hours and all of the pitfalls along the way. So from the outside, e-commerce seems easy. It's like, oh, well, people are ordering your product and you ship it. And but it's not easy. There's a lot that goes.
It's very glamorous, but it's a lot. It's very hard work.
Yeah. So questions to ask yourself is, I talked about the demand for your product. Like, is there demand? I always say, don't ask your parents or your best friends, because they're going to tell you it's a great idea. Try selling it another way and see if you can get someone who might be like a stranger or somebody that's not just going to be nice to you. See if you can actually sell the product. That's really important. Inferior product versus the competition. You want to be doing research. So whatever you're selling, who else is selling it? What is their price? Do they have good reviews? What is going to differentiate your product versus the competition? Sometimes there's too much competition. Like, if somebody comes to us, to the Media Captain, and they want to sell plain t-shirts on Google, it's just really hard. I mean, you're going against Hanes and you're going against Walmart, and you just have to find a niche. And the more common it is, we see the most success with niche products. The more niche that you get, those are the clients that really succeed for the work that we do. Higher pricing versus the competition. You don't always have to be the lowest price product. Sometimes, being like a luxury product isn't a bad thing. But obviously, if there's an advertisement on Google and it's two products that are the exact same and one's lower than yours, you're going to kind of be out of luck there, and you're going to see your conversion rate not do well. The thing that really differentiates Stefanie and Durham Warehouse is, and we'll get into this more, is the online reviews. 4,500 5-star reviews that Durham Warehouse has, and that customer service is ingrained into the DNA of Durham Warehouse. The reason that it's so important is because we do not make our money on the initial order. We make our money when somebody becomes a repeat customer and tells their friend. That is how e-commerce businesses become profitable. And that means that you have to have exceptional customer service. We don't outsource our customer service, and that is done in-house, and that is, that person is trained by Stefanie. And I just, we have a live chat on our site, and if somebody calls in, Stefanie has the phone staffed on the weekends, and that is a huge deal. And really, versus our competitors, Derm Store is a competitor of ours, and they recently got sold, but they were owned by Target. But if you look at our reviews, and we're a company that has what I think 5 to 7 full-time employees, we have better reviews than this company doing hundreds of millions in revenue. And that's, you can't teach that. It's just something that you have to take seriously.
And this is something also that I did myself for the first 3.5 years of running the business. So I took every single phone call. My cell phone was literally our business phone number. I took every phone call. I answered calls at night, on the weekends, like all day, every day. And when I hired my first employee for customer service, it took me, at least 6 months to train her. So it's not easy to train for customer service. Or, maybe that's just me because I want everything done my way, kind of, but it's something that I have spent countless hours working on.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
All right. What are your thoughts about a virtual office and a business phone number instead of my own address and my own phone number?
Or is this for an e-commerce business?
Yes.
Are you where are the products? Is it just at like your house, or like where are the products?
Unfortunately, they are at my house right now.
That's fine. Yeah, I don't think that, I think if you put like a virtual office on there, that's perfectly fine. Some people might look into it, but again, I think if you have like a good website and solid branding,
and reviews, of showing that you're trustworthy and people can, that you're legit.
Mm-hmm.
And is this who's talking right now? Is it
Paul?
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's what I thought, Paul. Yeah, and just so you know, Paul, when we started Durham Warehouse, Stefanie was living in Thailand. She was using a Google Voice phone number. So like, by no means do you need a phone. Do you need like a physical office? Like, you can do it just the way that you're doing it.
And I don't recommend using your cell phone. Now that I think back on it, that was crazy.
and just so everybody knows, all of these, like every one of these recommendations is a huge battle with Stefanie. She's just a little bit stubborn. So like she says, don't recommend using a phone. Like when I told her that she can't use her cell phone anymore, she gave me a hard time about that. So
yeah,
just
I sure did.
Knows.
Let me ask you one more question before you, as far as, I heard you mention drop shipping. With my product, I'm spending a little bit more money on the packaging, because I'm going to be a luxury brand because I have a small product that I'm just gonna make luxury. And I just feel that I can add to my bottom line by spending more money on the packaging, because it's more visual. And I don't know how that compares to drop shipping.
Well, drop shipping, you would have to talk to the brands. Some of our brands, because for us, it wasn't like the outside packaging, but there's marketing materials that we put in our packages that to me were very important. So some of the brands, I worked with them and they said, okay, send us your postcards and we'll put them in your packages, or send us, your branded packing slips and we'll put those in. So it just depends who your drop shippers are. Some of them, we wanted them to ship USPS flat rate boxes. And so I sent them boxes and they used our boxes. Depends, how big the companies are that are drop shipping for you. If they're these huge companies, they're probably not going to do that. But we worked with a lot of smaller brands and they were able to do that for us.
Well, I think one thing though is that, like Paul, for Durham Warehouse, we work with like 100 plus brands. So there's a lot of brands. But if it's just like a single product and the manufacturer is like willing to drop ship that for you, it's a little bit different of a scenario. So each scenario is different, but if you feel it's the best decision where, you can spend more on the packaging and especially at the beginning, if you're not doing a huge amount of volume on orders, it might not be a bad idea to drop ship. So every scenario is different there.
Yeah. And Durham Warehouse, we have 2,000 SKUs right now. So keeping all of that inventory for us, especially to start, was very difficult. But if you're selling, you know, a couple of things, and maybe starting, you're going to need 6 or 12 of them on hand, it may not, drop shipping may not be worth it. And it may be better for you to keep the products just at your house and order small quantities of them at a time if there's not that many different ones.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And we have another question in the chat.
Sure.
Or a couple of them. Just let me go back. Okay, so they're asking, Naomi is asking, how does one create a virtual office?
You can, like, there's a couple of, I mean, I can let Paul go into that. Paul, do you want to talk about what you did to create the virtual office?
Well, actually, it kind of presented itself. I was online with my partner, and we just discussed it, actually, and it just kind of happened. So,
yeah, there's, you could, like, if you set up with like a Regis office space, essentially you can get like a office that you never have to actually go into, but it would be like a mailing address for you. I believe you can do it for like the USPS, where you could sign up for like a PO box that would essentially serve as that virtual office. So those are 2 common ways of doing that.
yeah, and basically that's what we did. We pay like $39 a month for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think that is the only question for now.
Okay, so we're going to move into our 14 tips for getting started and making money with e-commerce. So something we've already touched on, and this is literally my number 1 tip, is find the right e-commerce software. This is a list of all of the different software that we use. I recommend you take a screenshot of this, or, you know, get the recording after this. It took us, you know, a lot of time to find all of this software. We started off with ShipStation, which is our shipping software. And like I said, it's amazing. We've used it for the last 5 years, and it's grown with us, which has been great. One of our more recent additions is Freshdesk. This is a customer service ticketing software. So all of our, yeah.
Sorry, just real quick, before you go into the software, you have to find like the right, you have to find the platform. So I'm sure everybody's heard of like Shopify. For Durham Warehouse, we use WooCommerce. There's BigCommerce. If you're just starting a small e-commerce store and you want to like do it yourself, I would say Shopify and also like Squarespace are really good options. We use WooCommerce because there had to be more customization, but like a lot of these that Stefanie is going through, they are like plugins within WooCommerce.
These actually aren't. These are all their own separate software, and I'm pretty sure most of these work with WooCommerce, with all of them.
Yeah, but what I was going to say is, regardless of which one, whether you go with WooCommerce or Shopify, you'll be able to like integrate these apps, plugins, whatever you want to call them, to your store.
So like I said, Freshdesk is our customer service ticketing software. We used to have all of our customer service emails just coming to like our email. And the beauty of this is that this goes into this software, and then anybody can access any ticket. So if somebody emails us, anybody on the team can see what's going on, can see the whole history of the customer. Whereas before, you know, if somebody left the company, we didn't have access to anything that had happened in their history with customers before. So this has just made it much easier to make sure we don't miss anything. But this is something that we just implemented at the beginning of last year. Finale Inventory is our inventory management software, and this is probably like the biggest of all of them. It keeps track of all of our inventory. We can also create purchase orders with Finale. The way that we chose it is we contacted ShipStation. We always liked using ShipStation, and we knew that our shipping software and our inventory management software had to link up with each other. So they recommended Finale, and it's been phenomenal. There's a lot of things that you can do with it, but it helps you place orders. It predicts what I need to order based on, you know, velocity formulas. It keeps track of all of our inventory. So out of all of them, that was probably the biggest time saver for me, and just the most life-changing of all of them. Live chat is something we've also had since the beginning. It allows you to chat. It allows customers to chat with you on your website. It also is great because if you're not at your desk, you can turn it off, and it just is this really convenient little message box, and people can leave a message just like they're, sending an email to you if they have any questions. We started out using MailChimp for all of our email blasts and all of our email marketing. And recently we switched to Klaviyo, which allows us to do a lot more with like shopping cart abandonment. But MailChimp is a great place to start for email marketing. Sumo is also one that we had from the very beginning. And this allows you to put like a pop-up on your site. So when customers come to your site, Sumo box pops up and it can say, hey, get 20% off your first order. Just enter your email address in this box. And this is really important because we're spending a lot of money on advertising and getting people to our site. And once they're there, we want to capture their email. So if they don't convert and they don't buy something from us the first time, we want to try to get them another time to do that. So we started out with Sumo, it's great. But then when we switched to Klaviyo, they have the same type of thing. So now we're using that, but we have collected hundreds of thousands of email addresses using those pop-ups, and it's amazing.
And email marketing is one of the best return on investments from a marketing perspective. So the reason is because like for MailChimp, you pay $40, $50 a month, something along those lines. Every time you send out an email blast, it doesn't cost money. So if you are collecting emails from potential customers, that's going to turn into new business when you send out compelling email blasts.
And then the most recent that we've added is Ready Returns. And this basically allows people to go through the entire return process on your website themselves. So it used to be that people would have to email us and we'd have to send them a label, and everything went through us. And now they can go to our website, put in their order number, put in their email address, and it's all done through Ready Returns. So this, every software that we add, it just helped us save time and save resources, and it made things better for the customer as well. And obviously, having all this software, it can cost a lot of money, and that's why we've added it. Added each thing one thing at a time, and we really spread everything out as we needed them.
But by the way, for Ready Returns, how that came about is I ordered like a pair of Nike shoes on eBay, and I ran in them one time, and then like my heel was bleeding from the shoes because it like hurt so much. So I went to return it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this software is amazing. So I forwarded it on to Steph, but eBay, like, because I wore the shoe once, would not let me return the shoe. They wouldn't give me anything. So
bad customer service.
Bad customer service from eBay, but I did find Ready Returns from that. So, but we're always, anytime we shop online or do anything, we're always researching to try and find, better processes.
And just so you know, I want to quickly, I'm not sure exactly of the pricing of all of these, but I just want to tell you what the pricing is approximately, just so you know. And like I said, we've added this software very slowly over time. ShipStation, when you start out, I think it's $39 a month. You have to have shipping software, so that's a really good place to start. You also get discounts on stamps.com. So if you're shipping, whatever you're shipping, you'll get discounted rates. Freshdesk is, it depends on how many people that you have as agents, but I think it's about like $50 per month per agent or something like that. Finale is $200 a month. And at the time that I signed up for this, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm going to be spending $200 a month on something. And now that I've had it, and now that like my life has changed because of it, it's literally the best $200 a month that I've ever spent. Live chat is, I think, $99 a month, $49.
No, it's like $39.
$39 a month also for live chat. MailChimp, it depends. You can start for free with MailChimp, and your plan increases as the number of emails that you collect increases, but you can start that for free. Sumo, I don't remember how much Sumo is. I think Sumo is the one that's $99 a month.
No,
and then,
that one's like 20. That's because we have multiple, but that's like $20 a month.
Okay, well, clearly I can't remember any of this, and maybe this was a bad idea, but thanks, Jason. And then Ready Returns is about $120 a month. So all these things add up, but they have, as you get going and as you grow, they're going to be, I know I keep saying life-changing, but they really are.
And if anybody's doing, like if you have an e-commerce store and you're doing less than like $1,000 in revenue a month, and you're looking for the ones to invest in, like ShipStation, live chat,
and Sumo
and MailChimp. Like those are all ones that are going to help improve your process and help you generate more sales.
Okay, moving on to number 2, get customers to your site. Like Jason said earlier, some people think that you build this great site and you put it out there and people will just come to you, but that's unfortunately not how it works. So first step when you get your e-commerce site up is getting customers to your site. Your paid ad strategy is the most important for customer acquisition initially. We talked about also SEO, and that's a great long-term play, but getting people to your site right away is paid advertising. And we have a whole slide on that, so we'll go into it more. And then your ongoing SEO strategy, and then collecting emails from customers coming to your site from ads. So Sumo and Klaviyo or live chat, both are amazing ways to collect emails so you can be engaging with those customers and getting them to shop with you. Okay, so getting more into PPC, and I'll let Jason talk about this, but it's important to determine the right advertising channel. That different things work for different companies depending on what you're doing and depending on what you're selling.
Yeah, so I'll share a crazy stat with everybody. 80% of advertising dollars online go to Google, Facebook, or Amazon. Okay, so a lot of people think of online and they're like, oh my gosh, I need to advertise. What about Snapchat? What about Twitter? And they start naming off like 15 channels. Focus on those 3 channels and you try and find a winner from those channels: Facebook, Google, and Amazon. And of course, Google owns YouTube, so that's kind of nestled into that. And Facebook owns Instagram, so that's nestled into Facebook. But those are the 3 channels. So when we get a new client, we are trying to find a winning channel for them. And that is customer intent. So for Durham Warehouse's products, people are familiar with the brand, and you can see in this search Alpha Lash. Popular product, people know that brand. So they type that directly into Google.
And we're fortunate that the brands have done the work to, build up their brand and people know about them.
For sure. But when let's say you're trying to sell t-shirts, and you have like a design on your t-shirt, what exactly do you type into Google? It's hard to even think about, which shows that the intent is not made for Google. Like, so that would be when we help clients sell shirts, and we helped a company in Zanesville scale from $0 to over 5 million, all through Facebook advertising, because they sold shirts at an unbelievable price point, $7.99, $8.99, with great designs. And Facebook allowed for us to get in front of people. So again, when the owner of that company challenged us to, get sales on Google, I mean, we tried to tell them it wasn't going to work well, but that was one where it just Google didn't work for them. Facebook was their channel. For Durham Warehouse, Google and Bing, that's our channel. There are some products that do well on both, but it's amazing how many have one defined channel, and that's where you want to obviously put a lot of your money.
And then do you want to talk about shopping and versus PPC also?
Yeah, so if you look below for that search alpha lash, you'll see pictures that populate and you'll see reviews. And I'm sure when you've been on Google, you've seen this before. Those are called Google shopping ads. And what would be below that is paid advertisements where it's just like a text-based ad. So there, then when you start drilling into it, some clients, Google Shopping performs really well. And for most e-commerce, Google Shopping is the winner, but there are others that succeed on PPC. So it's really just finding the right channel and then the right tactic within that channel. And go back real quick.
You can. How do I go back? Oh, there we
go. Yeah, so you can see that like 33 reviews. Hey, Mary, PPC is pay per click. So if somebody types in alpha lash.
And we have another slide about it that shows an example, I think, of PPC.
Yeah, but it's even for this, if somebody types in alpha lash, you are not getting charged where we have highlighted that product there, the $132 product. Derm Warehouse does not get charged unless somebody actually clicks on the ad. So that is pay per click. You pay per click. That is how Google makes 95% of their revenue. It is people clicking on their advertisements.
Okay, tip number 4 is showcase your brand's personality. Find what makes you unique and show that off on your site. We can't tell you how many people that we've talked to or we've worked with, and they don't want to share anything about them on their site because they think it makes them look too small. They want to look bigger. So find your story and tell it. We are a family-owned business. We're a dermatologist-owned business, and we share that literally everywhere all the time. You've seen this picture of our family 3 times already in this presentation. So that's just proof that, we use this, and we use that to make us stand out and to make people remember us. We send email blasts out on my birthday. We send email blasts out on my dad's birthday. On Mother's Day, we're like, we love you, Mom, Robin. I sent out an email blast when I got married a few months ago, and I was like, everybody meet Corey, my husband. And people love it, and it connects us to them, and it makes them, want to be loyal to us. It makes them keep coming back to us. So that's our story, and we love sharing it. So find whatever your story is and what makes you unique, and make sure you share that on your site because it'll make you stand out. I think Paul had a question. Or Jay, you want to go?
Yeah, real quick, and Paul, but clearly Stefanie is dictating messaging for Derm Warehouse because I don't get email blasts for my birthday. And when we first started, my country, the Derm Warehouse story was like my dad, the dermatologist, Stefanie, running the day-to-day, and mine was that in high school I had bad acne, so I really appreciated skincare products. So yes, tell your story, but if you're not the one writing the messaging, get final approval on it.
Okay. Oh yeah. Paul, did you have a question?
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. So tip number 5, Google and Bing shopping. So I know that we already talked about this a little bit, but we can't stress enough how important it is to start using paid ads, finding what works for you best. When you're doing Google shopping, one tip is to make sure you're monitoring your search terms carefully. When you set up a shopping campaign, you can see the exact search terms that people are looking for to get to your ads. And an example that I always like to give is, I monitor these all the time, and you can set negative keywords. So if there's something that doesn't make sense, you can set it as a negative keyword, and then you won't be spending money when people are typing that in. Your ads won't show. So we sell a brand called Elon, and they sell these vitamins for growing your hair and making your hair stronger. And I was looking at the search terms, and we were getting all of these clicks and spending all this money on the search term Elon Musk smart pills. And I don't know what those are, but all of these people were coming to our site thinking they were buying these smart pills, and really they were just buying hair pills. So I was able to set that as a negative keyword, and then we weren't spending money on that anymore.
And I earlier I talked about like you got to get people outside of your family to purchase your product. And I always say that the official source of truth of whether or not you're going to be successful is once you run ads on Google and Facebook. That is going to tell you whether or not there's a market for your product. And the issue is that a lot of people don't know how to set these up and structure them well, so they don't have a clear understanding. But when you run ads the right way, and if you've gotten like 500 clicks and you have not converted, there's some issues. And so we always say that the official source of truth is once you start running these ads, are you getting sales?
Tip number 6 is mobile checkout and mobile wallet. So we talked about the payment processor a little bit earlier. And obviously one of the most important things on your site is making sure that people can get through the checkout process and make sure that they can pay you. Mobile checkout, more people than ever are shopping on their phones. And overall, you just want to make it as easy for people to pay as possible. You know, there can be a situation where somebody's in bed and they're shopping and they're like, oh no, I don't have my credit card. And that's the difference between them, you know, buying something on your site or not. And there's so many different ways that people can shop and people can check out these days. Give people all the options. So this is a screenshot of our checkout. So we have, you know, you can pay with a credit card, which you would proceed to check out, and you can pay with PayPal, you can pay with Amazon Pay. Now we also offer Afterpay, which allows people to pay in 4 installments, something that I also fought Jason about when he came up with the idea. But, you know, make sure that that it's really easy for people to check out, and especially easy for them to check out on mobile. We also have Apple Pay when you're on, this is a screenshot from a computer, but if you're on your cell phone, you would also see Apple Pay there. All right, tip number 7, showcase product reviews on your site. We cannot say enough how important reviews are, both for the company and for the product. The company reviews, you know, just tell people that you're legit and they make people trust you. But then product reviews, people are going to want to know what other people think about the products that you're selling. 91% of people regularly or occasionally read online reviews. 84% of people trust online reviews as much as personal recommendations. So this is huge, and getting people to write those reviews on your site is really important, and conversion rate on your site. We use Trustpilot, but Yapfo is another company, and they help get reviews both for the company and for the different products. And Trustpilot is another thing. I didn't put that on the software list, which I should have. Trustpilot was one of the first softwares that we got after ShipStation, and it's not cheap. It's like $500. It was $500 a month at the time. And
there's cheaper alternatives now.
There are cheaper alternatives, but I don't think the cheaper alternatives allow you to write both company and product reviews. So we use Trustpilot, and we saw our conversion rate just jump once we started getting those reviews, both for Derm Warehouse and for all of the products that we sell.
Yeah, we have 2 more questions in the chat. The first one is, what are some of the ideas for increasing the conversion rate from an actual customer to actually selling a product?
Yeah, so Nicole, so when you have reviews on your site, that increases conversion rate.
Live chat also increased conversion rate a lot on our site when people were able to just chat in and ask questions rather than having to call.
Yeah, but also just look at like your overall product page. Do you have clear images? Do you have multiple images? If there's a need to zoom in on an image based off of what you're selling, is the price, easy to see? Is there good information? Like if you go to a Durham Warehouse product page, you're going to find all of this rich information that Stefanie's written. So, site load speed time, is your site loading fast? So there's a lot of things that come into play, but I would just say compare your product page versus a couple of competitors. Go to some big dogs like a Nordstrom and like a J. Crew and just see how they lay things out. But yeah, a lot of what we talked about, like reviews, is going to help, but there's hundreds of things that can help